Hello guys, today we're going to be talking about The Warriors. Oh, awesome. This movie was released in 1979. It's rated R, very R, and it's about an hour and a half long, though this is the ultimate director's cut. This one runs a tad longer, but not a lot of its changes, deviations. The only change between this and the normal cut is the transitions in the introduction, which was added on by the director. I'll get more on that in a little bit. And it was released on DVD in 2001. This, of course, is a later release, of course. It has a 7.7 out of 10 on IMDb with about 80,000-ish user votes, and 63% on Metacritic with about 14 critics. It stars Michael Bed. I thought it was Michael Bed. That's weird. Hold on a sec. I gotta check. Michael Beck, not Bed, Beck. I wrote it wrong. My bad. And he was also in Xanadu. He wasn't in a lot of other movies, and I think this is the only movie I've really seen him in. But he's very good in this. And it also stars James Remar, who was in a lot of stuff, a lot of stage stuff, a lot of bit roles, but very acclaimed actor. The one thing I saw him in recently was the CW superhero show Black Lightning, but he was in a lot of other stuff before then. He was also in an episode of Tales from the Crypt, but everyone was in that. The movie was directed by Walter Hill, who also wrote the movie 48 Hours. On Rotten Tomatoes, the movie has 89% with 37 critics and 88% by audiences with about 6,000, roughly. And it doesn't have a critics consensus because it's not certified fresh because there's not enough critics for that. The movie is available to stream on Stars right now. But the first time I saw this was on Netflix, so Netflix has had this movie in the past. The movie is also available to rent and buy on Amazon, Google Play, Microsoft Store, iTunes, and YouTube. Now, this movie was very influenced on a classic Greek tale about warriors traveling home. And the idea was this movie was also very comic book influenced at the time. And when the movie was originally released, the studio didn't really want the comic book influence that the director wanted, or they didn't have the technology for it at the time. Either way, that didn't happen. This was added in the director's cut, and it doesn't really hurt the story in any way. It does add an element to it. Additional element to it, so I like it for that. It doesn't harm the story; it just adds to it, which I think was pretty good. The opening narration, I believe, is done by Orson Welles. Orson Welles did a lot of narration work during the 70s, I believe, or something like that, for a lot of projects. A lot of times, I think he went uncredited too. Yeah, he did that, and yeah, this movie's awesome. It's very well paced, and it's definitely a comic book movie, and I really enjoyed watching this. It's very eye-popping. It's an awesome world. A lot of cultures, a lot of characters, a lot of good things in this movie, and good use of talking and not talking, action and talking. It's very well balanced. There's this awesome scene towards the end of the movie where no dialogue is changed, but immediately you get the message. You see, that's the thing. Some of these movies nowadays, they get so fucking preachy, and they feel like they have to say what's in the air, and it irritates me because it's like, just shut up. let the action speak. That's the thing about film. We're not reading a book. We don't need everything spoken for us. We can figure out shit on our own. You don't need to keep spoon-feeding us fucking information. But yeah. And acting's good. Cinematography's fucking awesome. This movie is very gritty and very authentic. It's so fucking practical. The sets, it is filmed in New York, or in a city at least. So it has that. Everything's very graphic, and it's not, I mean, it's a violent film, but it's not very bloody. Now that I think about it, it's not a very bloody film, but there is action, and it's very, there's a lot of good characters in this movie, and it's kind of easy to figure out who from who and that kind of deal. It's very quotable too, and it's gathered quite a huge cult following. Actually, when it was first released, because this movie was, during this time, there was a lot of gang activity, especially in the city areas like New York, among youths. And gangs were involved in this film, because in order to film certain areas, a lot of those areas involved gangs. So a lot of gang members, in exchange for not, fucking up all their shit, got kind of bit parts in the movie as kind of background characters or shit like that. And their gear was trashed by some gangs, though, in the making of this. And when it was released, what happened was, during one of the early viewings of it, there were rival gangs were in the same theater watching it, and when they find out, when one gang found out there was another gang in the area, like, some violence ensued and someone was killed. And because of that, the release for the movie was pulled very early in a lot of theaters, but despite it still made a profit, and a lot of people liked the movie when it came out. A lot of people liked it. But over time it gained a cult following because of the quick release and taken back of the movie, because it didn't spend a lot of time, it didn't have a long theatrical release at all. So that's the thing about theatrical releases back in the day. It wasn't as organized as now. It's not like, alright, this movie is going to go on for a certain period of time, then we're going to take it back, then release this amount of movies. It wasn't real organized like that. It was kind of a fucking crapshoot, where, okay, it's kind of like, Star Wars went through 3 theatrical runs during its time. I mean, it's that kind of thing. And even before then, movies like Frankenstein and Dracula, there would be a double feature, because movies were like short back then. Short enough where you can have 2 movies, air them kind of consecutively, and it'll be about the same runtime as movies nowadays. So you would do that all the time. Local theaters would be like, alright, let's put up Dracula and Frankenstein for a double feature, and they would do that. So earning money in theater runs back then was a bit different. Not as many movies were being produced, so theaters in release and theaters didn't hold that many movies. So a lot of movies got multiple theater runs just because there was nothing else to run. But yeah, of course that changed over time, of course, nowadays. I'd rather, in all honesty, I'd rather have just 4 movies in theaters total, and all 4 of them are fantastic, instead of like 6 or 8, and half of them are pieces of shit. But yeah, but yeah, that's really all I have to say about The Warriors. It speaks for itself, really. There's not any more I can add to it. It's a very gritty, late 70s movie with a kick-ass awesome soundtrack, by the way. Acting's awesome. A lot of low-profile names, not a lot of big-name people, which is cool. And also, there was a video game made based on the movie that did incredibly well. And that's the thing about movies. I noticed a lot of great movies back in the day had a video game vibe to them in terms of how the story progressed and the characters and who they fought and stuff. It's kind of interesting. If you watch a lot of them, you can definitely see it in a lot of movies, especially action movies, especially. But yeah, awesome acting, awesome story, cool, very good cinematography, very good use of sets and effects, and awesome soundtrack. Yeah, what more could you ask for? It's a quotable movie, very memorable lines, and yeah, it's definitely worth the price. The DVD is very common to find. You can find it in Walmart. This copy especially, I do recommend this. I've seen both cuts. First time I watched it was the regular cut, and this was the Ultimate Director's Cut. And there's not really that big of a difference. I recommend getting the director's cut because it's his vision, and it doesn't really do anything to take away from the theatrical experience either way. It's not like Blade Runner where the two cuts have enough of a difference where you kind of need to watch both to figure out which one you prefer over the other. It's not like that at all. But yeah, you can definitely find it, pick it up. It's not expensive either. And, you know, you can find this at a Blu-ray bin in Walmart pretty easily, or Myers or whatever. But yeah, check it out. You won't regret it. But yeah, thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like the videos, and have a good day.